Serious Redditors who gave up pursuing their dream to settle for a more secure or comfortable life. How did it turn out, and do you regret your decision? I wish I'd realized sooner that work is just work for me. There is no dream job. I just want something I'm good at with decent pay and no stress. Think I've found it. Same. I think some adults really need to stop pressuring children to find their ultimate passion and translate it into their future career. That line of thinking led to a lot of anguish in college and some adult depression. I still kinda feel like I'm adrift in the ocean. We need more talk about how work is sometimes just work, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you're a failure. My dream was to become a translator for Nintendo, specifically the Zelda franchise. Studied Japanese and lived there for a year, then became a video game translator at a small studio. Afterwards a localization project manager at a bigger Korean company. Worked my way up to maybe one day be hired by Nintendo. Lost more and more passion for games on the way. Heard awful stories about working at Nintendo and slowly realized that this isn't the right job for me after all. Translators are, most of the time, underpaid and the whole thing isn't as romantic as it seems. Decided to do something entirely else. Left the gaming and localization industry and am now a really happy and well paid product manager for an e-commerce company. I will never go back. Knowing Japanese, well, the bit that is left after not using it for years is a good party trick still. So no regrets. Was a fun time, but it had to end. People don't realize that institutions, like corporations, often utilize worker passion as an excuse to mistreat them, pay less, make unsustainable demands. Thus why a story like yours just echoes through this whole thread. For example, it's what the world is doing to a whole generation of frontline healthcare workers around. I went to school for and worked as a video game developer. I saw the crunch times, the frequent layoffs, and general instability of the industry and decided it wasn't for me after all. Been doing work in various industries trying to find something I want to do for a living. Came to the conclusion that I will never like working. So I'm settled in at an aerospace manufacturing plant that has been in operation since WWII, and I can and probably will spend the rest of my working days here. I've decided that it's better for me to get my life's fulfillment from my hobbies and relationships instead of my work. I started programming at 14 as I wanted to make games. Made a load of them in my spare time. Went to uni to do computer games tech. Switched course in my first week to computer science as I came to the realization that in the games industry, I would get paid less to experience more stress and work more hours, all whilst still creating someone else's vision. I'm 30 now, and I'm a dev team lead doing business software, working 95% remotely in a 37-5-hour work week, and in 8 years I have done no more than about 20 hours of overtime in total. I try and make games in my spare time, but even with the amazing free tools these days, e.g. Unity, VS, Blender, GIMP, I rarely have the energy to do more dev. After doing it as a job, I don't regret changing direction. But if I could make games with the same work-life balance, pay, and benefits as working in software dev, I would. I've been on basically the same life path as you, except I never actually went to college with the idea of becoming a game dev. When I got out of high school, it was my dream job. I never ended up following through on it though. I had more pressing personal stuff to take care of. Fast forward 10 years and I finally decided to go back to school after wasting a few years in retail. In those 10 years, I read so many horror stories about the gaming industry that made me swear off of ever becoming a developer. All of that passion I had for making games has now turned into a passion for programming, and I'm currently working on earning a bachelor's in computer science. I just finished my first year of college with a 4.0. I'm glad that I waited a little bit. I bounced around the lower levels of the film industry, earning nothing, earning $5 a day, earning $8.20 an hour. I really enjoyed most jobs, got some great stories, but after 10 plus years of missed opportunities, missing out on jobs to those more connected, of not having enough to do, I could blame the early days of digital, but I just didn't go hard enough. It was time. My 30s were approaching, I had less than 5 figures in the bank despite still living at home and having next to no expenses. My romantic life consisted of admiring the actresses from afar and being an ass to anyone who got close. I switched to teaching, and I mostly enjoy the work. I still tap into my skills occasionally. I make movies with my classes. Last year made a whole bunch during remote teaching. I actually had the self-esteem and cash to start dating, and am now engaged to a girl I don't deserve and have been trying to marry for months. I don't regret it, but I do miss it. My dream is to have a comfortable and secure life. Still working on it. It was fine, but no one gives a shit if you're a professional bassinist and there really isn't enough paying work. I did it professionally for 8 years before quitting to raise kids. Now I work in it. If I had to do it over again, I'd have just gotten a real job and not put so much time into an instrument that I don't like playing. You know what the bassoon is? It's a cry for help. Part of me regretted it. Part of me knew I had to. I always wanted to be a doctor. No pushy parents or anything like that. I just wanted to fix problems, and medical things seemed like the most interesting problems. Things change. Get worse/better. Add new problems. My little brother was born and developed seizures and development issues. I decided pediatrics was for me. The same problems/puzzles, but with the added intrigue of the patient being unable to tell me what was wrong. Sounds a bit sick, but that's what my brain wanted. I didn't get the grades at school. Unfortunately, my stepdad died, and it messed me up a bit being needed at home with my siblings, and I shifted my focus. I did go to university, did an access course and a biology degree with the aim of then going on to medicine afterwards. Sadly, I got 2 rejections for med school on my birthday, no less, and I pissed away the rest of my final year. Because, what was the point anymore? Question mark? I then met a boy, now husband, and needed to get a job. Any job. Please just give me a job. Countless applications were ignored or rejected. I felt worse than useless. I finally landed a job at a call center. Hated every minute of it. But bills got paid. A wedding and honeymoon have been paid for. And we bought our house. But, in 2019 I knew I was turning 30 soon. And knew this wasn't what I wanted. Even if it was what I needed. I enrolled at a local college on an access course, and last year I passed with distinction. I applied to a few university courses, and I had 2 successful interviews. I quit my sucky job on New Year's after nearly 6 years of hating it, and in 2 weeks I start my course to become a nurse. Plans change. Needs must, but I'm hoping it's worked out. There are people in their 30s, 40s, 50s who go to med school. That's what I'm trying to do. 31 and 2nd year of med school. In Brazil it lasts 6 years total. My father, ex-military, is turning 60 this year and decided he wants to go to med school as well. He and I are not leaving any dream and starting to settle. It's actually the other way around. So I wouldn't comment on this post if you hadn't bring this up. Hope you can do it too. It feels like accelerating to speeds I've never experienced. Like my life has just begun. Sometimes that can be overwhelming and kind of sad that it has happened only at my 30s. But then I remember that it could have never happened and set my focus on the goal again. I was a child actor. I was relatively successful. I was on a popular soap and even had my 15 minutes of fame. I had TV shows and films and commercials on the go. Of course this meant I was bullied at school if I answered their incessant questions about what it was like on set. They said I was stuck up for talking about myself. If I didn't answer their questions, they said I was stuck up for not engaging with them. I was talked down to, ignored, laughed at, the usual high school stuff. But for most people, that stuff ends in high school. For famous people, it never ends, as we see on the internet daily. Then I met someone on set who told me what it was really like, that if you're not made for it, the fame part can completely destroy you as a person. If you are private or shy or anxious, as I am, it can tear you apart inside, and it's constant. And for the really famous people, it never, ever goes away. She helped me recognize that what I loved was the process, the on-set family, the job itself, the recognition, the total lack of privacy, and the inevitable bullying just wasn't what I wanted my life to be. She showed me that at this early stage of my career, I could make my choice. I didn't have to just stumble into a lifestyle I wouldn't easily be able to get out of. She showed me the truth, that for most people, by the time they know they hate the lifestyle, it's already too late. When I was 18, I quit my agency and never looked back. Now, 19 years later, in my office job in finance, I make a fraction of what I could have made, and I don't enjoy my work nearly as much as I enjoyed TV and film sets. But I'm anonymous, and I'm happy. The girl I met, these days she can't even go to a grocery store or a petrol station without being mobbed. We are not still in touch, but I follow her career. Me, I can go anywhere and do anything without anyone giving me a second glance. That makes me happy. I hope she is happy too. Honestly, turned out great. I realized my band wasn't going to get a record deal after a few years, and then after playing for other people's bands for a while it started to become less fun. I got a proper job, started working on my career, and used my new spare time to start playing rugby again. Now I've got a really good job in a sector I enjoy working in. Married, kids, nice house, all that stuff, and I still play rugby on Saturdays, pre-pandemic, to keep things a little different as well as keeping in shape. I don't really see it as giving up on my dream. It was just recognizing that it wasn't going to happen. I'm very fond of that period of my life, and having spent quite a few years chasing that particular dream, I don't have any regrets or what ifs about being in a band. I was an actor. I was doing okay at it, had a few tasty parts on TV. I'm a software engineer now. I don't regret making the decision to do something else more secure. I like writing software, probably more than I enjoyed acting, in fairness. I regret seriously sucking at auditions for the last year or so of my acting career. I likely could have gone much further had I committed properly to it. Chased my dream, took decades, and did better than I thought I could. Stayed focused throughout. Thing is, I should have reevaluated long ago. Turns out I was chasing the wrong dream. I regret not recognizing that the dream can and should change. If you blindly chase one dream, the finish line isn't necessarily fulfilling. Sometimes we spend a lifetime climbing a ladder, not knowing it's up against the wrong wall. I'm the opposite. I dropped lawyer school to do professional scuba diving at the other side of the world. Never looked back. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you enjoyed watching this video, leave your thoughts in the comments below.